Baltimore City has all kinds of problems, and many of them it's impossible to think could ever be fixed. However, we still need a very strong and effective leader to basically take the city uh, out of the terrible slump that it is in now with regard to trash, crime, and corruption in the government itself. We have a interim mayor now, Sheila DIXON, former president of the city council, and her chief opponent in the Democratic primary, Kiefer Mitchell Jr. I recently had an experience that put the governing styles of the two candidates in juxtaposition, and after I explain my experience, perhaps it'll help you decide which of these two candidates best suits Baltimore, in your opinion. Um, I live again in Pigtown, Baltimore, Maryland. There's an alley that runs behind my house and all the houses on our block. Ever since I moved in here, actually, it was pretty much a haven for junkies and drug dealers and even people who want to hide stolen goods and do all sorts of nefarious activities away from the eye of the law and use the cover of the brush to conceal their activities. I got so frustrated that I sent an email to my councilman, Kiefer J. Mitchell, and the next day there were crews from the city out, cleaned up the alley, removed all the brush that was able to be removed, and the police were all of a sudden hovering around the block. Now, I do attribute a lot of that to it being an election year, but I still have to say that there was a reaction. Conversely, about 2 weeks ago, there was a project through the city, more specifically through interim mayor Dixon's office, to put together what was described as a deep clean Saturday. And Deep Clean Saturday basically got volunteers from the neighborhood together with some city workers willing to work overtime, and we were going to clean up the streets, and the city workers were going to come by and pick up the trash. Walked out in the morning and touched base with one of the volunteers and pointed out a tree in the alley, which I'll show you here. Basically, junkies and dealers used it to to shade themselves, and is kind of their little tree fort. And that was pretty much the last holdout in this area behind our house that was being used for these sort of activities. So I said, hey, listen, if myself and the worker I have on hire cut this tree down, will you guys remove it? Absolutely, of course. So the better part of the day was spent in this junky tree fort, sawing away at this, rickety tree. And around 2 o'clock, it was finished finally. And talked to one of the volunteers, and he couldn't get anybody from the city on the phone. By chopping down that tree and not removing it, more trash, at least in my neighborhood, was created than was removed. And the tree now provides even greater shelter to those seeking to use it for underhanded and criminal purposes. When I brought this to the attention of the mayor's office, I received an email back stating that the way I remembered the agreement was not as they remembered it. Double talk, excuses. Those are two things that Baltimore has had plenty of, and quite frankly, can't afford any more.